Evening, and thank you once again for tuning in. This is Maximize Your Life with Pastor Marcus. This Bible study, we are in the house, as you can see. Yes. And tonight's lesson, I'm very excited. As you know, we've been doing the Change series. It kind of goes along with that, but kind of doesn't. But what I want us to do tonight is we are going to Judges chapter 6. Judges chapter 6. And we are going to begin at verse number 12. My Bible does read different. I'm going to give you some time to get there. Judges chapter 6, verse number 12. Judges chapter 6, verse number 12. And tonight's topic is the power of perception. The power of perception. The power of perception. How you see things. How important do you think it is how you see things? That's basically what we're talking about. The power of perception. Judges chapter 6. And you're going to read the text and like, how in the world does he get that from that? I want us to get this. You know, I use the Bible for platforms of thought. And I ask that God transform our thought with something as simple as a text. So we share the text, and whatever that I see in the text, I use the scriptures for a platform of thought. This is the way that God gets thoughts into our heads. This is the way God gets ideas into our heads or concepts into our heads by us looking at a text, and it lifts something that we can use in our everyday life. All right. So Judges chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse number 12, the power of perception. Whose perception? We're going to see the angel of the Lord appeared to him. This is Gideon. And said to him, the Lord is with you, O valiant warrior. In King James Version, it says, O mighty man of valor. My Bible reads a little bit different. Then Gideon said to him, O Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. The Lord looked at him and said, listen to what he says. Go in this your strength and deliver Israel from the hand of Midian. Have I not sent you? He said to him, oh Lord, how shall I deliver Israel? My family is the least in Manasseh, and I am the youngest in my father's house. And we're going to start with verse 16. But the Lord said to him, surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat Midian as one man. And the topic comes from perception. First, when you look at the text, whose perception do you see? I see two perceptions. I see Gideon's perception of himself, and I see God's perception of Gideon. I want us to catch that. Tonight we're talking about the power of perception. And here I'm going to start all the way like a boomerang, and we're going to kind of bounce back to the lesson. All right. I'm going to start with Adam. It's significant to note the first thing that was given to man was his authority to name creation. I want to start there, because what God says to Adam is, I'm bringing everything to you. Whatever you call it, that's what it's going to be called, right? Y'all remember that? Right. The first thing that is given to Adam is his ability to name everything. Why is that significant? In other words, it's saying whatever you call it, that's what it's going to be. Yeah. Whatever you call it, that's what it's going to be. So now, basically what it's saying is God gives Adam the authority to identify any object based on his perception of it. Yeah. Now, whatever he sees, he calls it that. And by him calling it that, the object finds its identity based on what Adam calls it. Did that make sense to y'all? Yeah. I really don't want to go too deep, but I want to kind of get you to understand the power of perception. Now, look, the lion becomes a lion, not because he wanted to be a lion, but because Adam perceived it as a lion. You understand what I'm saying? So now the lion embodies what Adam called it. Yeah. I want us to catch that. The power of perception. Adam is given the authority to create identity based on his perception. And so the object takes on the identity of what it is called. I remember the text, Jesus does it again when he says, Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven.
Yeah.
Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. In other words, what he's saying is, however you decide your situation is,
Yeah.
you call it, that's what it's going to be. Basically, he gives us the same authority to look at our situation, to look at whatever it is and say, if you want it bound, you're going to bind it. If you want it loose, it's going to be loose. Here's my question. How many possibilities have you bound with your perception? When I say that, I say, you look at a situation and say, man, this situation is not good.
Yeah.
I don't see no good coming from this situation. You just perceived only negative and you bound all the possibilities of positive. Not because there are no positive possibilities, but you can't see it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So Jesus says to Peter, whatever you bind on earth, I'll bind it in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth, I'll loose it in heaven. In other words, you have the power and authority to create or to bind. Now, think of this. How many times have you looked at a situation in your life and called it one thing when really it could have been called something else? But your perception of it is what changed it. And I love that. I love that. I love that. Many of us have lived in negative circumstances because that's all that we could see. And once that's all you can see, that's all you can believe. And once that's all you believe, that's all you can experience. Tonight, we're talking about perception. Why? Because I want us to understand that we have more power than we think that we have. And this is not, look, this is not, I'm not saying power as in so mystified. I'm not saying it's mystified at all. I'm going to show you tonight that we have so much power based on how we see a thing, that it will completely change your life if you could just get your perception right. We have to train ourselves to change our perception. We have to learn to look beyond our sight so that we can see our vision. Catch it now. What does the word say? Without a vision, the people perish. Without a reason to believe, the people perish. I want us to get that. I want us to get that because tonight we're talking about the power of what? Perception. Can you perceive your vision? If your life does not have a vision, if you are not connected to a vision, guess what? For every church that does not have a vision, what happens to the people? For every person that does not have a belief or a goal, a vision, or a dream, they get locked into a dead-end job, going nowhere, miserable, because without a vision. All right, that's just to start it off. The question becomes, do you see the cup half empty or do you see the cup half full? We've heard that so many times. Initially, this is what God has to do with us. He has to get us to change our present perception by giving us a future vision. I'm gonna say that again. He tries to get us to change our present perception by giving us a future vision. What he does to Gideon is he speaks not for where Gideon is, not for who he is, but he speaks for who he's going to become in the future. Why? Because what that does for Gideon's mind is it gets him to see beyond his present circumstance. I want us to catch that because the power of perception is so powerful. If you cannot see beyond where you grew up, you'll never leave. And there were so many slaves during the slave days that stayed slaves even after the chains had came off. Why? Because they could not see or dream of anything else beyond slavery. At the same time, it was slaves that was leaving while slavery was still going on. Why? Because in their mind, they had a perception of something different than where they were. Why is this significant to us? Because if you cannot see yourself being more than what you are, you will always be where you have always been. Now, look, here's the thing, because Gideon's perception of himself was weak and least. Catch that. Gideon's perception of himself was not accurate when it came to what God saw in him. And I want to highlight that because I don't know who this is for. But I want us to understand that you are stronger than what you think you are. You are stronger than what you think you are. Say that, I am stronger than what I think I am. You can really write that. Gideon saw himself as a nothing and as a nobody. Now look, poor, the youngest, the weakest in his clan. He had based his present he had based his present perception off of his past failures. Get that. He based his present perception off of his past failures. That means he defined himself based on all the things he had failed at in his past. But when God looked at him, God did not look at him for what he had failed at. He said to him, you are a mighty man of valor. Why? Because I'm not calling you for what happened yesterday. I'm calling you for who I want you to become tomorrow. And here's the thing. The thing about us is we cannot see ourselves greater than where we are. We don't believe it. This is the point of tonight. The point of tonight is I want us to understand your perception of yourself. If you can't believe yourself out of a situation, you'll always be in a situation. If you're waiting for somebody else to do something for you that you're not going to do for yourself, you might as well just stop because you're not going to get it. You have to believe. God speaks to Gideon. And he wants to change his perception of himself. I believe self-perception is where the initial transformation has to take place. If you want to see your blessing, if you want to see the purpose manifested, if you want to see success, you are going to have to change your self-perception, especially if it's not a good one. And so this is why God has to tell me that I'm an heir and a joint heir. This is why he had to tell me I'm a son and daughter of the kingdom. This is why he had to tell me I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. I'm more than a conqueror. Why? He wants me to re-identify myself in my mind. Because if I can believe in me, that is what's going to, he said, I have overcome the world. What's going to overcome the world? Even our faith. Our faith in what? Our faith in God and our faith in ourselves. I want us to understand this. And this is not just about TGM, but one of the things that TGM stands for is to get us to believe in God. Yeah. But watch what he says to Gideon. He says, go in this thy might. In other words, he's saying, go in your strength. And then Gideon look at him and say, wait a minute, my strength? I lost yesterday. I got beat yesterday. What are you talking about? My strength. You know what? When we look at our lives, how many of you have looked at your life and you know, I had to learn to dream bigger than what made sense. It sounds so ridiculous, but I had to learn to dream bigger than what made sense. Why? Because if I can't visualize that in my head, I can't even put my foot to it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to get us to see that God said to Gideon, go in your own strength. You are stronger than what you think you are. You are smarter than what you, and if you're not, you are going to become it. And you know, I don't want us to see ourselves for who or what we are. One of the things that I had adopted very young and very early is it didn't matter where I was because of where I was going. It don't matter where I start because where I'm going to finish. It don't matter because I'm not going to stay here. And that's the thing about it. I don't think we understand that we are not supposed to stay where we are. There is more. You know what? There's a song, there's more, you know, there is more than I require of thee. Why? Because you're stronger than that. You know what? I heard this analogy. You know, I was listening to a motivational video, and I heard this analogy. He said they didn't have phones, they didn't have all the medicine that they have now. What did the other folks do that was getting beat for being black? What were they doing? What were they doing? Were they depressed? No, they were standing tall. But we have a generation of people. I mean, come on, we have a generation of people that are so. You know, we can't stand the rain. We can't stand the pain. We can't handle nothing. We can't stand up. We can't, you know, I'm going to stand for what I believe in. They believed, all they had was belief. They didn't have TV. They didn't have nothing. They didn't have cars. They had, but what they did, they had the power of their own belief. I have a dream. Martin Luther King, one of the greatest speeches of the history of the world. I have a dream. I have something in my head. I may not get there with you, but I have a dream. All he had was a dream. Back then in those days, all they had were dreams. That phone you have in your hand, that started in somebody's mind. The computer, that started in somebody's mind. I want us to get it because I don't think that we realize the strength that God put in us. And this is why life can be hard because God knows what he created. He did not create you to be weak. He did not create you to be sorry. He did not create you to be whatever it is that you have become. He created you to be more than that. There is so much strength in us that we don't even tap into. There are so many things that we could accomplish that we don't even step into because we don't believe in ourselves. And this is the thing, the power of perception is so powerful, because if you can't believe it, you can't speak it. If you can't speak it, you can't expect it. And if you don't expect it, you will never experience it. I want us to understand that the power of perception is so powerful, because once you see it in your head, it starts to make you believe. I started off with a vision in my head. I started off with something that was bigger than me, something that was bigger than my mind could even fathom. And then what happened? I started to believe in it. I started to believe that it could be possible. Maybe this word is for those people that think crazy like me. Maybe this word is for somebody that's all the way out the box, way to the left or right like me. But I want us to understand this. We are somebody special. And if you don't look at yourself in the mirror and see somebody special, you need to go and start telling to yourself, I am pretty. I am lovely. I am cute. I am special. I'm stronger than this. I'm wiser than this. I'm better than this. I'm stronger than this. I'm wiser than this. I'm better than this. I'm more gifted than this. I'm too talented to be broke. I'm too pretty to be sad. Sometimes we gotta coach ourselves, because there is more down inside, and he won't put no more on you than you can bear. And if you have a lot on you and it feel like you about to break, evidently it's not too much the way you can't handle it, because God knows what he created. He says, go in this thy might. You gonna deliver your people. I want to tell us something. The answer to your success is not nobody outside of yourself. That's right. The answer to your place of blessing is not the answer to nobody outside yourself. The answer to all your problems is not nobody outside yourself. Go in this your might. You gonna deliver the children of Israel from many. You gonna do it. You gonna do it in your strength, because I'm with you. Now I want you to catch that. God didn't say I was gonna do it for you. Right. But he did say, I'll do it with you. So that means I can't just believe in God to make things happen in my life. I got to believe in myself to put some faith in action so that I can see God manifest himself. And I want us to get it. We're talking about the power of perception. When I start to believe I can become more than my past mistakes and shortcomings, then I begin to elevate my expectation. I begin to elevate my expectation, what I expect God to do. Now, I said this before, I'm so far out on faith that I don't know what else there is to do, because I don't know how. Once you take a shirt and you stretch it, there is no way to ever go back to the way that it was. And once my level of faith, once I see God do something, I'm like, nah, there is no way I can go back to the mustard seed faith now, because now you show me you can actually move mountains. I'll never go back to my scared state now, because now I actually see you can help me kill these giants in my life. You can move mountains, and if you don't move them, you can give me strength to go up over them. You do have the power to keep me in the valley. So now my expectation has elevated. It's got bigger. Now I expect something different. What I love about perception is when you change your perception of yourself. We at 1825. When you change your perception of yourself, you start to change your perception of the things around you. All of a sudden, you start to re-identify things in your life. There was a time that I saw a breakup in my past, and I would say that was a horrible experience. That was a bad experience. That was a hurtful experience. I labeled it as negative. My perception of it was negative until my perception of who I was changed. Then I looked at the same situation and I didn't declare it as a negative no more. I started looking at it as a positive, because if it wasn't for that, I never would have known that I was as resilient as I was. If it wasn't for that, I would have never known how much of an overcomer I was. And so even though it was a bad situation, the good of the situation was that I came out stronger. This is where we become more than conquerors. We don't just win the battle, we win and we develop bigger and better lessons. We don't just win, we come out on top, we survive, we thrive because things happen to us. We don't just beat it, we don't just we don't just win it, we get better from it. We more than conquerors. And that's the thing. You don't just label yourself. You label the things around you. All of a sudden, you start to see the positive possibilities in every situation.
That's right. That's
You
right.
start to see the positive possibilities and even in the things that look bad. And then that's when you start saying crazy stuff like what Marcus say. God can be working something good no matter how bad the situation is.
Absolutely.
You start to see, folk think you're crazy. What good can come out of that? I don't know what good can come out of it, but I guarantee something good can come out of it because I'm changing my perception of my situation. You got to understand that the power of perception can take you higher, or the power of perception can take you lower. The power of perception can make you mediocre and average, or your power of perception can make you above average. And I'm not talking just being great. I'm talking about being the greatest. When you can look at a situation and find the positive in so much negative, it doesn't just change the situation, it changes you. It gives you more resilience, more strength. Tonight, we're talking about the power of perception. God ignites something in Gideon that had never been ignited in him before. I want to tell y'all something tonight. I want to tell you guys something that's watching this. What if God is trying to ignite something in you that has never been ignited before? A belief, an idea, a dream, or a vision. What if God is trying to ignite something in your mind, in your heart, that has never been ignited before? What if God is trying to show you something about you that you don't even know yet? He said to Gideon, you a mighty man of valor. Gideon like, what? I'm a what? He had to tell him who he is, because at this point he don't know. And I'm sure this is a testimony for me. God had to tell Marcus, you a preacher. I'm a what? You see all the weed I smoked last night? I'm a what? You see all the women? I'm a what? Now, God, I think you got the wrong one. I'm sure we all get to testify to that fact. God, you said I'm a what? But at the end of the day, it made me aspire to something greater than what I was. And I don't know who this is for, but maybe God is trying to get you to see there is more about your life. And you know what? I'm purposely doing this because my job is to inject thoughts into your mind so that when you leave and when you stop watching, you're going to process in your head, what is God really saying about me that maybe I haven't got the memo yet? What is God telling me to accomplish? Basically, let me reword what he said to Gideon for each and every last one of us. He says to Gideon, go deliver them in your strength. I'm going to say to you, go and be successful with what you have. You think you need something else. Gideon was like, wait, I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to need them other soldiers over there. God said, now I'm going to do it with you. And I want us to get there. You have everything you need to just start. You have everything you need to be all that you can be all that you can be. No, be as blessed as you can be as successful as you can be. You have everything you need. What God does is he calls Gideon something totally different than what he had identified himself to be. And I want us to understand this. When we look at our children, when we look at the people who are around us, we can't see them for who and what they are. We have to see them for what they could potentially be. I had to learn that. Stop being so critical, Marcus. Stop being so critical. You never know what they could turn out to be. My job is not to criticize. My job is to empower so that you start to see something in you that you have not seen. That's my job. The job of every leader, every pastor is to empower his people to be the best that they can be. You understand what I'm saying? It is not my job to criticize. It is not my job to be critical. My job is to see you as God sees you. And what does God see? God sees his masterpiece. Come on, man. You stronger than this. You know what? I'm going to use this analogy. When we were younger, my mom, she did this for us. She would always positively encourage us in our mind. One more, you got one more. And she's a Roman instructor. Come on, you got one more. I'm tired. You can do one more. And then you do that one. Come on, you got one more. She gonna get every last drop. But you know what it did? When I got grown and there was something in my life that I felt like I couldn't accomplish, I didn't think to myself, what will my mama be? I never thought that. But I heard at the back of my mind, you can do it. You can go for it. You can do it. You got one more in you. You can do it. Try it again. It's gonna work this time. I have that positive. You understand what I'm saying? My job as a leader is to have something turning in your head. When you run up into an obstacle, you're gonna run into giants when you leave. You're gonna run up against mountains when you leave. You're gonna run into some valleys. When you turn out my video, you're gonna run into stuff. And guess what? I want you to hear in your head, there is more down inside of me. I'm more than a conqueror. I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not beneath. I am an heir and joint heir. What is that getting me to do? That's getting me to re-identify what I believe about myself. I am stronger than that. I can overcome that. The one thing I thought I would never be able to get over is heartbreak. My heart got broke. My heart got broke. I never thought I'd be able to get over it. I never thought I'd be able to get over it. But you know what? I can stand right here flat foot today and say, God can mend that broken heart. What I thought I could not do, God gave me the strength to do it. And I found out there was more in Marcus that Marcus did not know about. There was more strength. I overcame some things I never thought I'd be able to overcome. And I'm saying that to say tonight, what is your perception of yourself? What is your perception of the things you have coming? I guarantee you, God can give you the strength. There is more down in you. There's more power down in you. There are more ideas down in you. There's more strength down in you. There it is. It's down inside of you. But guess what? It will never come out if you do not believe it. He says to get in mighty man of valor. I'm saying this to you tonight. Mighty women of God, mighty men of God, mighty men of valor, mighty successful men, entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires, owners, CEOs of companies. There is more down in you. You haven't tapped into it yet. Your perception. Somebody got something. Come on with the come on. I'm trying to tell somebody. Amen. Amen to that. And I'm going to conclude with this at 26 minutes. All right, we're going to roll right back to Adam was told to give objects definition by what he calls it. God gave Gideon definition by what he called it. I want you to catch it tonight. Whatever you call it, that's what it'll be. That's what he says to Adam. So God comes back and does the same thing to Gideon. Whatever I call you, that's what you're going to be. I'm speaking to you, but I'm giving you an identity, right? What if I told you that you have the same power over everything in your life? Whatever you call your situation, that's what it'll be. Come on. If you call it negative, that's what it's going to be. If you call it bad, that's what it's going to be. Whatever you call, what if I told you that you had the same power in your life? Come on. What if I told you that? If you look at yourself in the mirror and say that you want one thing, that's what you're going to be. I heard this quote. The quote says, the one who says I can and the one who says I can't are both right. You know what? Whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you think you're not strong enough, you're not. But on the flip side, if you think you are strong enough, you are. What's the difference between those two? Perception. Perception. One person perceives that he can, another person perceives that they can't. And they both are right in their own right, but it's based on their perception. Tonight, I'm telling you, change your perception of yourself. Change your perception of yourself. I would not be where I am had I not decided I could overcome it. I didn't know how I was going to overcome it. I just decided I was going to do it. I know you're probably thinking, how can I be successful? How can I get to where it is I've never been? How? You're not supposed to know how. All you're just supposed to do is believe. You'll figure it out. Yeah. You got the mind to figure it out. Let me tell you something about God. And I'm gonna conclude with it. I'm gonna conclude with this because I can go on and on and on forever. Let me tell you something about God. Let me tell you something about what God do. God did not have to make a couch. He only gave us a tree. That's right. He don't have to make it because your mind can make it. All God got to do is bring the concept within the reach of your mind, and you will bring it together if you believe enough. Now guess what? Here's what I'm saying tonight. What am I saying to you tonight? I'm saying everything about your life is based on how you see it. Yeah. He don't have to create a piano. He didn't make pianos and send them. He created trees, plants, animals. He didn't do nothing else but give us the basics because you know what? He created our minds to be able to figure it out. Yeah. He didn't have to make cars. Where did metal come from? These are all concepts that are you hearing what I'm saying to us tonight? Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? God already knew what he created. So he ain't got to do nothing extra for you. He can only bring that idea within the concept of your mind. He gives you enough creative power. You don't think that you can get through it. I tell people all the time, and you know what, somebody go, I'm gonna get some blowback for this. I know I'm gonna get some blowback for this. But they said that my son had ADD. I said to him, I said, son, I'm not saying that you don't got it, but here's what I am saying. I'm saying 50 years ago, there was no medicine for ADD. Come on. All right, all right. And those people came through it. You know what they did? They focused their attention and they disciplined themselves. That's right. You can overcome any obstacle if you believe that you can. Come on, then. That's my point. My point tonight is if you can't believe it, you will never see it. That's right. If you can't believe it, you will never see it. Without a vision, if there is nothing to believe in, if your perception is not right, you will always get it wrong. I want to minister that tonight. I want to minister that to you. Amen. Change your perception. Whatever you call it, that's what it'll be. Whatever you call yourself, that's what you will become. I want us to get in the habit. And that's what I need all of us to do. I need all of us to do this. I need all of us to do this. I need all of us to do this at some point. Maybe you don't have to do it daily, but at some point, look at yourself in the mirror. And I want you to call yourself what it is that you want to be. You call it. You look at yourself in the mirror. You know, I had to say this to myself. Marcus, you are a pastor. You are a great pastor. I have to say that to myself because what I call myself, that's what I'm going to be. But I make myself believe it. So now when I say that to myself, what does a great pastor do in my eyes? He's diligent. He works hard. He puts sometimes he sacrifices himself. He does everything that he needs to do so he can put his people in position. My idea of a great pastor. You understand what I'm saying? But by me speaking that to myself, it gives me an idea of who I need to become. So I work for that. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying tonight? Whatever you call your situation, that's what it'll be. Whatever you call yourself, that's what it'll be. So with that, good night. Thank you guys. Come on, let's clap for the word tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next week. For all of those videos, we have Bible study. Maximize Your Life with Pastor Marcus is on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, TGM Television, Inspiration for the Nation of Hope. You're going to see our symbol around. Keep believing in God. Keep believing in yourself. God bless you. Thank you guys for tuning in.